Welcome to another episode of the Risk Takers Podcast presented by HYM Enterprises. My name is Harold Matos and I'm your host. This is a show where we feature esteemed business leaders as they provide us insights into their business and personal journey. Please like, share, and subscribe for a weekly dose of your motivation and inspiration. I'm joined by my co-host today, Brian Keith Franklin, who you may know from his entertainment company, Gulf Coast Leisure.
Hello everyone, Brian Franklin, glad to be here. It's going to be a great time when I'm around Harold Matos, but I'm a little more excited by who I'm going to be interviewing today.
All right, so today we're honored to have a true pioneer and legend of mixed martial arts, a UFC Hall of Famer and a Huntington Beach bad boy himself, Tito Ortiz. But beyond his credible career in the octagon, Tito has a compelling personal story of overcoming adversity and forging his own path. We're excited to delve into that journey with him today. Tito, thank you for being here, my
pleasure,
man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it for sure.
All right, got you. So you're new to the Southwest Florida area, man. How is it compared to California, man? Is it hotter there or here?
Oh, it's hotter here, but it's kind of like what you want or what you want. I'll take the heat. I'm cool. Compared to safety, here safety's phenomenal. I live in Huntington Beach for over 47 years. I got 3 boys. My oldest son, Jacob, he's actually at Arizona State University, criminal justice psychologist, is his major. And then I got twin boys, Jesse and Journey, who are 16 now, and they were 13 when we moved here. So in California, the schools, man, they're indoctrinating my kids in the schools. It's just the crime was through the roof. It wasn't how the same type of community that I grew up with. And me and my wife, we knew we were going to move to Florida. We weren't sure where we were going to move. We looked on the East Coast, and it wasn't really our fit. I came here after Hurricane Ian to Cape and saw a community come together, and it gave me hope for this country. I was like, these are good people here. Ran into Sheriff Carmine, took me down to the sheriff's office. They have a big AI room. They have probably about 50 televisions in there. There's a camera in every street light in Lee County, a camera in every classroom in Lee County, and a camera and 2 officers in every school in Lee County. Mm-hmm. Safety for my kids. So the community coming together, the safety for my children, just a great community here. And I'm a community guy. I've always given back when I was in Huntington Beach, California, and I couldn't do it anymore, man. I couldn't deal with that bullshit anymore. It was just one of those things that I had to make sure the future of my children, I had to give them everything that I never had as a kid, but that I had as growing up, with a community that was strong.
Yeah.
So,
well, how did Huntington Beach, distinctly influence your journey and who you are today?
Well, in Huntington, it was just my brothers, my mom. My mother took me away from my father when I was 13. My father had a heroin problem. She gave me a different chance in life and moved back to Huntington Beach. I was in Santa Ana for about 6 years. Which is a small city, probably about 30 minutes north of Huntington Beach. But coming back to Huntington Beach, I got into wrestling, and wrestling saved my life completely. And that was something, my true name was Jacob. In the Bible, Jacob wrestled against the angel. Angel beat him and saved his life. I found wrestling and saved my life. It was something that I was able to dominate through hard work and dedication, consistency in training, what I ate, how I did in school, make sure I had the grades I was able to be eligible to wrestle. It was just one of those things. That wrestling was something that gave back to me a lot, and being a big fisherman, I used to fish in Newport Pier all the time when I was younger before wrestling, and I used to catch fish. I'd sell the fish to pay for my dinner, my lunch, my breakfast.
How old were you at that time?
God, I was 9 to 14, 15. I was a young kid. I'm right before high school, but like I say, high school, when I got into high school, wrestling is something that I walked into the wrestling room, I'm like, hey coach, where's the ring at? He's like, ring? Yeah, like WWF. He's like, no, this is real wrestling. I was like, so once I started, I'm like, can I slam a guy in his head? He's actually going to get points for it. And I was like, I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm all in.
I'm all in.
It's funny that that was your answer to the previous question, because I was going to ask how wrestling affected or took you out from being in gangs and drugs. It seems like that type of commitment pulled you out of the spaces that you could have been in compared to peers. Could you talk about that?
Oh, 100%.
People who kind of...
So, when I was younger, I lived in Santa Ana. I was in the Gang F troop at the time. I got jumped in, I got jumped out when I left when I was 13. I can imagine all your viewers saying 13, that's super young, but I was really mature for my age. But I didn't really understand how a normal life was just because I was around drugs, I was around gangs. That seemed like normal to me, but then I hung around my friends who actually had a normal life. I was like, this is cool. I like this is better. It's like it's not so toxic. It's not so crazy. But when I got into wrestling, I had to get good grades. I had to show up to practice. I had to make sure I was responsible for the actions that I did. And my junior year, actually, a couple of boys I used to hang out with during the summertime, we'd go fishing all the time. And they'd cause trouble here and there. And there was a gang that was in Huntington Beach called Southside Huntington Beach, and we was gonna do a drop for them. And he asked me, he was, "Hey man, come with me and I'll give you $300. We're gonna do this little drop." And I was like, you know what? No, I got practice in the morning. I can't do it. That was a life changer for me. He got arrested that night with $1 million worth of speed, 6 assault rifles, 6 bulletproof vests, and he gave it to the ATF, and they arrested him. He ended up doing 20 years to life, him and his brother, and I didn't do it. And once again, wrestling saved my life, and I was fortunate. And I was just, when I said, I really dedicated myself to wrestling. That's all I wanted to do was wrestle. I want to be a high school teacher. I want to be a wrestling coach. That was my future. I never even imagined being an MMA fighter. That wasn't even not even an attitude, not even an idea. But it was just, as life changed, it just one thing came to another.
So like, what was that big mental adjustment going? I hear you saying wrestling. Well, we all know MMA. That's a different beast right there. There's different components. It's all connected. So what was that physical, beyond physical? What was the biggest mental adjustment from being a wrestler to a professional MMA fighter?
You know, I think the biggest adjustment was just the repetition and the consistency of training every single day. Take Sundays off, of course, but 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours a day I would train, and I would push myself to the maximum every day. I would always try to catch up to the next guy who's been doing it for 10 years. I was only doing it for a year and a half, I became the world champ after 2 years of competition. But I just was always pushed myself mentally, physically, and emotionally every single training, every single camp, and I just got better and better and better and became the world champ. I was lucky. Not lucky. The hard work paid off. Hard work paid off.
Hard work and dedication.
Yes, sir.
So when you first competed in the UFC as an amateur with no prize money, what was the core motivation? So you're not getting paid for this.
UFC 13, May 30th, 1997. Let me give you a little background on that. The reason I could get paid money because I was on a wrestling scholarship, Gold West Junior College, and I couldn't accept prize money because I'd make me a professional. Then I couldn't pay for my school. Well, to me, school was number one. I just thought that I was competitive. I want to compete, and let's give this a try and see how it does. I never thought about being a world champion. Never thought about making a career out of it. I just thought about, I want to compete. I want to try this out. I watched on TV. I was like, this is cool. I want to try this. And in Augusta, Georgia, I fought as an alternate, and I beat my first guy in 22 seconds. And then the guy who was supposed to go to the finals against Guy Metzger actually got injured, so I got to replace him. And I was beating Guy Metzger down, and then they stopped it for bleeding, which back then they never stopped it for bleeding ever. But it was because of the camps we were, and there was like some animosity towards everybody, but especially us because we were kind of assholes at the time. But I was a young kid.
Guys with a lot of personality.
Yeah, a lot of personality.
A lot of personality.
So they stopped it, put it back on our feet, and I went to go shoot him with a punch, and I shot too deep, and he caught me in a choke, and I had to tap. But it was a learning experience for me, and I was hooked. I was like, I got the attention that I never got from my parents. I got the attention I never got from any of my friends through this fighting thing. And I went back home that night, or 2 days later, went back home to Huntington Beach, and one of the clubs I used to go to all the time, I had to wait and get online, and I was sitting in the line, and security looked down and was like, Tito Ortiz? Come here, man.
Oh, that's all you need. That's all you need. I was like, oh, I'm good.
I'm good. And I was like, who you with? I'm like, 3 of my boys. Like, you guys come on in.
That's it.
Went to the bar, ordered a drink, and like all of a sudden, guy looked down and was like, damn, Tito Ortiz, drinks on me all night. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Game over right here. And I was like,
you were hooked with in that bout, in that experience. Were you hooked when you beat the guy in the first 33 seconds, or were you hooked the second? Like, was there a specific moment amongst those two where you like, okay, I'm already in. I'm just finishing it now. I already love this. Like, was there a moment where I've already decided I'm just playing this out?
I think I was hooked was when I lost because I hate losing in life in general.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Well, you got to take losses like that, and you got to learn take them as learning experiences. God gives you different gifts, gives you different opportunities in life, and if you take a loss hard and you take it to heart and really want to excel after that, you can do great. But if you take it as a loss and say, all right, well, whatever, and that was supposed to happen. To me, no, that wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to win it, but it was a learning experience for me, and I learned from it, and that just made me want to thrive to be better. And I was like, after that, it was like, I want to be the world champ in this game. And a year and a half later, became the world champ.
You did become a world champ. You became a world champ in 2000, correct?
Correct.
And you beat Silva?
Yep, I beat Anderson Silva, or Vanderlei Silva, correct.
Yes, and so you already said you was getting some attention whether you go to, bars and things of that nature. But when you won that one, what changed professionally and in your personal life? Like, what did you saw that was like, oh man, like,
You know,
that treatment from 1997 or 98 to
at that time, you know, I already had a pretty big name. So to me, I'm always keep myself grounded, keep myself very humble. But when I came to world champion, it was like a kid going, "You did it." You know, I mean, I slept with the belt for the first like 6 months.
Oh man!
It was just that dream as a kid of doing something, of being the best in the world. That's something you never thought you'd be. But in my mind, I knew I would be, but I just had to work for it. And it was like I knew all that hard work paid off. You know, I mean, before that fight, I fought Vanderlei Silva. I moved to Vegas for 3 months, and that's all I did was train, eat, sleep, and train. That's all I did. I sacrificed everything in the world to become the world champion. But I think that was the biggest thing, is winning that world title and not really having the attention. That wasn't what it was. I think it was just knowing in my mind that, wow, dude, you just became the world champion. Now it's time to defend this as many times as you possibly can.
Yeah. Did you become more hungry after that, or like the work ethic stayed the same, or did it ramp up a whole another notch?
Oh, it ramped up a whole different level,
Yeah.
you know. But I think winning that world title ramped it up a lot, because the fight before that, I fought Frank Shamrock, and I lost him for a world title. And about a month and a half before that, I was partying with one of my boys, and I probably shouldn't have been doing that. But once again, that was just, I think, God striking me down to be humble, to go, you got to sacrifice the world if you wanted the world. And I had to sacrifice the world, and I sacrificed the world to become the world champion. And after that, you know, I ended up going to Big Bear, California, which is up in the mountains, and kind of training like Rocky. You know, that's what I did. All I did was eat, sleep, and train in altitude of 7,500 feet of altitude. And it's hard to breathe in that type of altitude, but it was sacrifice, man. There's nothing up there. There's one movie theater, like 3 restaurants, and your house, and that was it. And all I did was eat, sleep, and train, and was able to defend my world title 5 consecutive times. So I was fortunate. You know, I watch a lot of guys in UFC now, and I really didn't notice it, and I didn't recognize it until Conor McGregor talked about being the first double-weight champion. Then I looked and I realized, like, wait a second, I was the first double-weight champ, because I was a middleweight champ, and then I was a light heavyweight champ. So I was the first one to do that, and it didn't even click, or I didn't even think about it, didn't even care really, until just recently I started thinking about it. I was like, because a lot of the other guys say, no, I was the double-weight champ. I go, no, actually, I was the first double-weight champ. But once again, it was just a sacrifice that I put into it. The losses that I learned from that want to make me better. You know, the sacrifices of doing the running, doing the lifting, doing the jiu-jitsu, doing the kickboxing, doing the boxing. What I ate. I mean, I literally remember running at 2 o'clock in the morning, and people be coming out of the club downtown HB, and I'd be running the stairs and be like, what are you doing? I'll get ready for my fight. I remember a couple times there were some guys that were like, I'll run these stairs. Come on, let's do it, boy. And we'd run. They do about 4 or 5 times, and I had like 40 times, and they'd be gassed out. I would go, see, you can't hang with me. But it was just one of those things. It was just like a challenge, little small challenges.
Hold on. So you talked about Shamrock, about how you defended your title, and then it was against Shamrock on some of those times. Was he your biggest rival, or was Chuck Liddell your biggest rival? Who gave you the most problems in the ring?
Most problems, you know, Chuck probably gave me the most problems, but the biggest rival would have to be Ken Shamrock, just because it was real. It was the animosity was real. It wasn't nothing that was set up from the UFC or Dana. It was Dana and the UFC to push Chuck against me. Me and him were boys, and I thought we were boys until they did what they did to me. You know, they just made something that wasn't true, that we were never friends. It was like, I used to stay at his house, he used to stay at my house. We used to run training camp. People could see all the photos from back when we were in Big Bear. We're training together. And I want to make sure if we're going to fight each other, we're going to make big amounts of money. Because UFC at that time, you know, they're doing 50 to 60 million per fight.
Wow.
And I'm making $150,000. What am I doing wrong that all these pro boxers are making 10 to 15 million a fight, and I'm not doing that? And Chuck sold out to the company against me, and I get it. I understand. And it just shows where his loyalty truly was. And it's behind me now, though. You know, we, you know, pretty much just kiboshed everything. We're friends now, you know. It's just one of those things that it's behind. You know, I don't look in the rearview mirror. I look in the windshield and look forward.
Amen. I like that. Men know how to work those things out. That's actually part of personal development.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. Now, I have a question. What do the best fighters have in common?
What the best fighters have in common? Dedication, persistency. I think dedication. Dedication has to be the biggest thing. You got to dedicate your life to it. This is not just a hobby. This is not just something I'm gonna go doing on the weekends or just during the weekdays. This is a lifestyle. You got to live it. You got to want it. You got to dream it. You got to eat it. You got to sleep it. This is like, to be the best in the world, you got to be crazy.
You have sons. and you coach. Yes. And I heard you talk about, Big Bear.
Yeah, Big Bear, yep.
Yep. And the time that you put the focus and just make things happen, are you instilling that dedication into your athletes, to your sons? Like, how does that transfer from you to them?
Well, for me to them, my oldest son, Jacob, he wrestled at Arizona State University up till his sophomore year. Then he ended up dropping out of wrestling because he wanted to focus strictly on school. He wants to be a CA agent. And I support him no matter what. Whatever he wants to do, I'll support him. For my twin boys, Jesse and Journey, they're sophomores, going to be juniors next year. And it's hard to still the hard work that I had as a kid growing up because I had nothing. And I give them everything I never had. And it's my mistake. It's kind of my fault because I don't want them to sacrifice what I sacrificed to get where I am. I want to give them everything I never had as a kid because my father wasn't there for me. So, I grab my kids, I say, I love you, I'm proud of you. I do everything for them. But to a certain point, over this last 9 months, I kind of just degraded a lot of it and taken it away. They don't have a cell phone. They have to earn their Xbox time. I make them earn the stuff they have so they understand it a little bit better. If they want to compete, I'm okay with it. But number one is school. I want them to get their master's degree. I want them to be very educated. I missed out on a lot of that when I was younger, and I pay for it as I'm older. I'm thankful that I got through UFC and actually been able to learn the things that I've learned. And I think about it as I got a master's in promotion through UFC. I've learned so much, but once again, every day is a challenge. Every day I learn something new. They say the older you get, you got to continue learning newer and newer stuff that comes about, and I'll do that and give it to my kids. I'm a head coach at Ida Baker High School for wrestling, and I kind of rub off on them. It's kind of crazy because life goes full circle where I'm doing exactly what I wanted to do before I became a fighter. I want to be.
I caught that. I
want to be a coach. I want to be a coach, and if anybody ever seen me on The Ultimate Fighter, I was coaching on season 3 and season 11. They see the type of person I truly am. They're so used to Huntington Beach bad boy, cockiness or confidence in my attitude, but it wasn't towards the fans. It wasn't towards the fans or the fighter's family. It was always towards the fighter in general only. And I've been able to transpire into that, into being a coach. And when it comes to coaching at Ida Baker, it's these kids are just thriving off of it and they're feeding off of it. And I'm pushing Division I wrestling. We're running stairs for 30 minutes. We're drilling for an hour. We're wrestling live for an hour. I put them through a hard practice, and it's molding men, molding girls. Because we have 55 kids on the team, 8 girls. And I'm pushing them. It's cool when the parents come up to me and say, thank you for what you're doing with my son or my daughter. But at the same time, it's just God put me in the right positions at the right time for the right reasons, and I'm very thankful for it.
You guys had that many wrestlers back when you were wrestling back?
No, we did not have. We did not have 55 on the team. No.
I said, hold on, that's a football.
That's a football team.
Yeah, our first year we had 22. Then second year we had 55. So it was and this next year we'll probably have about 65 to 70, I think.
Oh my goodness, we had as little that I could wrestle 2 classes if I wanted to. Right. I kind of decided what I would bounce between 171, 189, and occasionally 215. Get beat up at 215, go back down to 189, learn my role into things and get it back going there. But man, you got them out there working. I'm listening to the work and I'm thinking, thank God I'm not 17 anymore.
This is like life. It's a life lesson. That's what it made MMA so easy for me because I got Division I wrestling at Cal State Bakersfield. It was we trained in the morning, then we trained in the afternoon after school. When I got into MMA, it was easy for me because I knew the dedication, the hard work, the sacrifices, things that I had to do to become great, of what I wanted to be in. And because of wrestling, it taught me those steps to get to that. It was if my body was sore, who cares? Get up and just get warmed up and you're good. And push through it. Your body's hurting, push through it. Through my career from 2003 to, 2012, I had 8 surgeries. I've had 4 neck surgeries, a back surgery, 3 knee surgeries, but I fought after every surgery I had. But one thing, it was just a thing psychologically, what could you put your body through and how you can bounce back? And I was able to do that through a mentality of never quit.
Are you still moving like that? You still?
Yeah, I wrestle with the kids now.
You wrestling with the kids?
I wrestle with the kids. I have no problem.
You put a lot of...
once you're competitive, it never leaves. You're like...
Well, like I say, I've been here now for 2.5 years here in Cape Coral, and I went through some neck problems because I had 4 neck surgeries, but I found a company, CPI, Cellular Performance Institute, that does stem cells, and they shot stem cells into my neck, and now I have 100% recovery. I'm very thankful this company came about. People can check it out, CPI, Cell Improvement, Cellular Performance Institute. It's just amazing at what they do. It's just the next generation, the innovation that they have now of the technology they can do to help people, to cure people. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful for it. Like I say, I'm
no, you're looking good.
Let me ask you a question. If they had the stem cell before, you think you would have done MMA 5 more years or 10 more years? This episode is brought to you by InventCare Consulting Group, helping medical providers and personal injury attorneys grow stronger, smarter partnerships. From referral strategy to lean-based billing solutions, InventCare is redefining how injury care connects.
I gave 25 years of my life to it. I think I would have been I would continue to be a world champion. Yes, 100%. I would have a long reign as being a world champ. John Jones beat my record. I have mad respect for him. He's one of the GOATs in UFC. But I think I would have been at a higher level and competing at a higher level. The guys that beat me would have never beat me. I had the injuries and I just sucked it up. There was times that I came in injured in a fight, but I just sucked it up because I had to pay the bills. I had to take care of my kids, and I was willing to sacrifice my life for it. That's how much it means to me. That's how much my kids mean, my family mean to me. I want to raise my family like I always wanted a family as a kid that I never had. So, I'm happy right now. My wife, we've been together for 13 years. She's my back. She's my bedrock, man. She's the one that has my back. There's no hostility. There's no toxic relationship. There's no arguments. We argue once in a while that lasts for maybe 20 minutes the most.
Which camera are we on? Which camera? Can I point at the camera? This camera right there. Shout out to wifey.
Yeah,
Ortiz.
Amber Ortiz, my girl. I mean, she's my best partner. Like I said, me and her, we're partners. And my twin boys, their mother left when they were 13 years old, when they were 3 years old, and she stepped up and she's been mom since. And I'm thankful for it because she stepped into a mother figure that I always wanted. And my mom did an amazing job, but she's there and she's doing really, really great with my boys. She's mom to them, and it's good. My kids don't realize how hard it really is until they get out of the house and they're 18. They're going to realize how good they had it at home. And like I say, they got two choices when they graduate high school. Either they're going to college or they're going to the Marines. They got two choices. That's the only choices. That's it. That's the only choices they got. And I never served, but I've been to Iraq 6 times from 2005 to 2011. Huge support of our military. I just think it just shows dedication. It'll show a lot of schedule and just a lot of things to not even just love the country, because my kids do love the country, but just the sacrifice they need to be respectful towards just humanity in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That type of challenges will make you not only aware of what you don't have, but aware of what you do have.
Yeah.
And back to what you were saying, just as far as your wonderful wife, them having that experience with her will help them one day have wonderful wives themselves.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's the best partner you're ever going to have right there. That's A1 right there. So I got to salute that.
Very thankful.
So you wanted to ask one more question.
No, I think we're good. Let's transition into the next topic, unless you have something. So
I got something for you. And so as a beautiful bald-haired man myself, I just got a random question. Somewhere in your phone, is there a picture with you with hair? Because I went online and I could not find a hair, no afro, no braid, nothing.
Yeah,
You weren't born on this line with me.
I think when I was until about 5 years old, I had hair down to my butt.
Stop. See, I be telling people, they never believe me when I say that either. But where's the photos, man? They don't.
They're everywhere. You just look on Google. You Google and you'll see them everywhere. I had bleach blonde hair. That was like, I lived in Huntington Beach. Like all the guys, like surfer guys with long blonde hair and shit. I was like, and I used to know Dennis Rodman back in the day. So, and he would dye his hair a different color for every game. And I picked that up when I was in junior college and I wrestled. And so that just transitioned right into MMA. And I was like from Huntington Beach, surfer kid. Okay, I'm not a surfer. Bleach blonde hair. Flames on my shorts, let's run with this. And I ran with it and it became a character, so it was good.
That was your thing?
Yeah.
That was your thing. Did you just slide in there that you used to run with Dennis?
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah.
That's wild.
He's a cool cat, really cool cat. I've had some cool experiences with him. When I first met him, actually, one of the clubs I used to go to, and I had to wait in line, but I no longer had to wait in line. And I was at a table, and he actually kicked me out of my table. He didn't kick me out of the table. The owners kicked me out of my table for him to take over the table. And then one of his security guards tried to bully me. They don't last too well for him. We walked through the bathrooms and he shouldered me, and he was a big steroid guy. And I was like, oh, excuse you. He's like, watch yourself. I was like, oh shit, here we go. I go, come on, man, why you gotta be like that? He goes, well, you're just jealous you're not as big as me. I was like, all right, the steroids get in your head, dude. Yeah. And he's like, what are you gonna do about it? I go, I ain't gonna do a damn thing. I'm just gonna shut you up. He's like, well, let's do this. I go, all right, let's do this. So I'm taking my watch off. I'm getting my partner. I'm going outside. I went outside. I was like, 1, 2. Double leg, elbow to the face, and it was like a bloody mess. Got up, ran away. I had a wife beater on and white jeans on. I had blood all over me. I hopped in my car. There was Helicopter came by, cops came swarming in. I ended up taking off out the back street, went to Denny's. I walked at Denny's, people had like open eye, like, what the hell is this guy? I had blood all over me. Washed myself off real quick, changed my shirt, hopped to my car. The next week I went to another bar that we used to go to, or a club that we used to go to, and Dennis walked in, he see me, he was like, that same guy walked up behind him, he see me, and he saw ghosts.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And all of a sudden, one of the bartender came over and he was like, what are you drinking? And I told her I drink, and she's all, here, the rest of them for free, come from Dennis. When Dennis said, what's up? He's like, you don't have to do my boy like that. I was like, he's trying to bully me. It wasn't gonna happen, man. I go, I just had to stand my ground. He goes, I got respect. So after that, we had a relationship towards each other. He was one of my sponsors for one of my world title defenses, paid me out some significant amount of money. I was very fortunate, but he's a cool cat, man. He went through some stuff, and I followed him forever when he was with the Bulls, and then now that his daughter's playing pro soccer, she's a phenomenal athlete. But he's a really good cat for sure.
He partied a lot in Vegas too, because I know you lived there. He
the Hard Rock.
Yo, I watched. Did y'all watch the Bulls documentary?
Yep.
And he will fly to Vegas or whatever it is. Here where Tiger Woods and party in Vegas and fly to practice the next state.
Yep.
And he practiced at 110, bro. Like he wasn't out all night. You was partying with him at that time in Vegas?
A few times, yeah. Yep.
God.
A few times. Yeah, like I said, he was a good dude. He worked hard, and and just who you surround yourself with, who you become. And he surrounded himself with a few not great people, a couple really good people that I know that are still friends of mine to this day. But it's just one of those situations, man. When you get to that level, you got a lot of vampires around you. You just got to watch out, and you have some people that are good, but at the same time, it's just a learning experience,
Those type of great people, I mean, sometimes you tell the young guys, hey, you got to surround yourself around great people. But it seems to me when I talk to the greats like yourself, you always have these stories where you just happen to be around another phenomenal human being. Almost like there's an attraction between quality people who just put that work in and got it. Because you'll be like, yeah, I went to high school with so-and-so. Or
Tony Gonzalez, went to high school with Tony Gonzalez. Was it tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I just remember watching him, and I always wanted to be as good as him. So it was like, it put him to a different level. Guys from Korn, rock band, I mean, the guys be rolling in Rolls Royce and stuff. I was like, how do I get that? Like, we just work hard.
So you were going to be in the band?
No, I knew them. They're close friends of
mine.
Okay,
I'm about to say, is there a track somewhere? Yeah. You don't got no music nowhere I need to know
Nothing
about?
I did, no.
Just Hollywood.
Yeah, I do. One of my boys, Philby, actually, he did a song for me, Tito Ortiz anthem. But I just saw those guys, what they had, and I knew they worked hard in the studio and stuff, and I was like, all right, I knew that I had to sacrifice a lot to be where I wanted to be.
All right, I got some big questions for you. First one up, what's the hardest hit you ever took, and what's the hardest punch you ever threw in your career?
The hardest one I ever took, I think it's Vanderlei Silva, and I had the world title. I went to go throw a leg kick, and he caught my leg, and he threw a right hand, and he clipped me, and I felt like the world went upside down, but I just dropped to a knee, and I stood up, and I kind of ran away from him, and I could hear him kind of hunt me down, going, and I ended up taking him down. I ended up winning the fight, but I think that was the hardest punch that I hit that actually scared me. And the hardest punch that I've hit somebody with would have to be an elbow against, Elvis Sinisek. I hit him with an elbow, and when I hit him, it was like dead straight on, and his forehead, I had like an X mark on it, and blood went everywhere. He for surely felt that, and I hit him really, really, really hard, and I felt it right on the tip of my elbow. I think that would be the hardest blow that I hit somebody with.
I want to dive back into the business because that's important. So we talked about, the upbringing. We talked about how you got in, where you started, your entry, your exit pretty much, how long you did it for. But we're going to talk about the money. I know that's what everybody is important about. All right, so we talked about Liddell, of course. I'm sure that was your biggest bag?
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell? Okay, cool. How did you spend your first $1 million?
My first $1 million, actually, it was my first $75,000 I bought my house. I put a down payment on my home. If I would have lost the fight, I was going to put a down payment on my home. And I already signed the papers, too, so everything was on me. It was my second title defense against Eben Tanner, and I stopped him in 32 seconds. And I remember at that time, my ex-wife, she was like, we finally got the house. And it was like, literally, you can see a little clip right after the fight. And she comes to us, we got the house. That's what I spend money on, is real estate. I understood that I had to buy something, and this goes back to Dana White telling me that buy something they don't make more of, land. They don't make more of it, buy land. And I understood. I was like, and when I got that, I was like, all right, this is cool. But for my first $1 million that I made, gosh.
What did you blow it on? So And they got this segment up on, I think, on YouTube. They got this segments where they usually ask like the NBA or football players, and be like, okay, 200,000 to mom's house, 300,000 to a Cullinan Rolls Royce, another that's five, another 50,000 in accessories, and then
I think at the end of the day, I was just I put money away for my kid for college. I put more of a down payment on my home. I bought a Cadillac Escalade, paid it out cash, invested a lot of the other money. To me, it was just like investment. I understood investing, not the level that I understand investment now, but back then it was like, I got to put, 500,000 away. We got to understand, 375 of that went to the government. After my first million. People don't understand that. A lot of it goes back to the government, and I can write off only so much, but I mean, I've been straight up through my whole career of always paying off the taxes. I made anywhere north of 20 million through my career, but 10 of that went to the government.
Wow.
And it's hard. It's one of those things you're like, man. But now that I've learned so much in business and learned so much of, once again, going to the people who you surround yourself with, who you become, and I surround myself with a lot of people who are and billionaires. So I understand how they're able to find these little loopholes where they're able to save more money to invest. And I'm doing that now, that it's helping out a lot.
Not for sure. What is there? 77 tax codes in the book or something like that.
Yep.
So if you
There's
learn
a lot
those,
of different things that come about that you see. You're like, I gotta pay attention to this, pay attention to that, and making sure you just make the investments the right thing. And like I said, investing in my kids to their schooling. My kids are still young, so I'm able to invest money to that still. My wife's thankful write-offs on that. I bought my mom her first home after I made, I think it was like my third million I was able to make. I bought my mom her home. I've been able to give back to my family a lot. I'm very fortunate. I've been able to give my kids everything I never had. But like I said, it's hard work of just putting my nose down and just going through the grind, and being at the level that I have, my life's always been under a microscope where people just try to pick me apart. And then when you go against guys like Dana White, and it's just one of those things that he tried to ruin my name. He's tried to erase me from the UFC and just has so much stuff on me. It's just stuff that's just common knowledge. But when I would do interviews and everything, and I never took any interview classes or anything to kind of prepare me for doing interviews. I would just spoke how I thought, and sometimes I was mess up and I would say something different, or I'd say something wrong, or it wouldn't sound like I was intelligent when I would say these things, but it was just because I was so nervous that it would just automatically come out of my mouth. And when I was a kid, when I was young growing up, I had a stuttering problem because when I would speak, I couldn't talk as fast as my mind would think of thoughts. And as I've learned to slow myself down and come to conclusions, I want to make sure that I come across better and better and better. It just takes practice and timing and being confident too. Being confident is a huge thing. I mean, that's through business in general. You got to be confident. Comes down to negotiations. You know what you want, you know what you're worth, and you got to make sure that you stand your ground and be humble. I don't step on anybody to get ahead. I respect people. People need help. I'll reach down and help them up. As soon as they try to pull me down, I let go, and that's just the way I am. I'm an honest man. I can look in the mirror every single day with integrity for my name and who I am. It's important. When I worked for Donald Trump back in 2005 on the Subway Apprentice, I come to realize you have two things for the rest of your life. You have your word and you have your name. Never tarnish your name and always keep your word. And those are things that I've kept solid to my name, and I teach my kids these same things.
So post UFC, you've been dabbling in a few businesses, from acting in Hollywood, opening up your punishment brand, training center, clothing, as well as Tito's Cantina right here in Cape Coral. Why in Cape Coral instead of metropolitan areas like Miami or Tampa?
Well, coming from Southern California, there's Mexican places all over. There's really good places. When I moved here in 2022, usually Sundays, me and my family go eat Mexican food. I want to have a couple margaritas. I want to have Mexican food. Yeah. And I tried all the Mexican food places in this area. There's no Mexican food. People call it Mexican food. It's maybe Tex-Mex at the best, maybe. And I mean, I'm not trying to downplay anybody at all. I just come from Southern California where there's places everywhere. I wanted a Mexican food place. I was bored. I was like, all right, I've been wanting to do this for 20 years. So I'm like, all right, I'm pulling the trigger on it. Me and my partner, Chris Rowland, who I just bought out at the beginning of this year, I'm 100% owner now. But we built this whole place. We built it all out. It was kind of my idea, what I wanted, how I wanted it. And I know how, when I go to a restaurant, how I want to be served, how the food want to taste. The drinks, service are number one. I'm just icing on the cake when I'm here. And that was my partner when he came in, and he paid for almost everything to get done here. And he was like, what's going to keep people coming? I go, the service, the food, and the drinks. And I make sure all our employees, we're like a family here. This is a family restaurant, and I want to keep it like this, where people come in and it's like everybody knows their name and they know their drink before they even sit down, and that's the way it should be. And with great, authentic Mexican food here, we're bar restaurant, but at the same time, it's just giving authentic Mexican food to Cape Coral. And I was like, this is a no-brainer for me. It's small enough, it's fine. This is my first of about 10, I said in the beginning, but it's just a lot of work. So I think I'll do 5 of them. And then I'll end up trademarking it out and franchising it out. And
so you're growing this. This isn't a one-off.
This ain't one-off. Hell no. Now I'm gonna do it's business attitude. I know what I got to do, and this is just beginning of something that's been a dream that it's happening. Having as a kid having that dream becoming a world champion. I happened. Being a millionaire, it happened. Having my first Rolls Royce Phantom, it happened. Having my kids, having them have nothing to worry about, it happened. Being able to buy my mom a house, it happened. Wanting a restaurant, it's happening. If you manifest and you dream about it and you think about it and you dream it and live it, you can go crazy doing it, but once you all of a sudden things start clicking and it happens, you're like, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I'm just so damn confident that I believed in that dream to happen. It's a manifestation in your mind to make it happen. Your mind is so powerful and so strong, but people are afraid to use it because they get intimidated. They lose hope. They have loss of ideas. They have someone around them that are pulling them down, that are negative, and trying to bring them down to their level. Mm-hmm. I don't do that. Anybody around me, negative mentality, I get away. It's like, get away from me, get away from my circle. I have a tight-knit circle of good people. Like I tell my boys all the time, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future.
So in 2012, you were inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. What was that feeling like?
That was...
After the commissioner said he tried to count you out, correct? That's what you said?
Yeah. So I fought that same day against Forrest Griffin. I beat him down for 2.5 rounds. He got me a little bit half of the round, maybe not that much. They gave him the fight, and then I retired. And I wasn't done though. I was done with the UFC because I got sick of getting bullied, and I can't fight against Dana. That's the person you don't fight against. Right? That don't work. They'll destroy you. But getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, I think it was for the fans. It wasn't for me. It was for the fans. It was for the fans to know that everything they gave to me to support me, buying my clothing company, Punishment Athletics, buying my pay-per-view, standing in line for hours. I mean, every time I'd be at the UFC Expo, and I'd be signing for 8 hours straight without no breaks. I would take no breaks. I'd be there, and I'd be there for the first person until the last person. I was the only UFC fighter to do that because I understood how important my fans were to me. I understood because they're the ones that thrived me to be a better person. They're the ones that thrived me to be a better competitor and to be a world champion, have that mentality of being the best that I could be. And I think being Hall of Fame, it was for the fans, strictly for the fans. It wasn't for me. I see myself just as somebody that just works hard, has been fortunate to have what he's had through life, because there was 3 choices in life, dead, in prison, or where I am right now. And those are the only choices I had. And I've been very fortunate, and I take responsibility of every action I've ever done. And I learned from it. I learned a lot from it. But I think being that Hall of Fame, it was for the fans, and my legacy are my children. What they perform and what they become is that who Tito Ortiz is. And that's what I've done through life to give my kids everything I never had as a child. I'm a scarred man. I was a scarred kid, and I'm not a victim though. I'm a victor, and I'll use that success to make me thrive to be a better person when it comes to being an entrepreneur, being a father, being a husband. Just try to do the best I possibly can to show my children by an example of what type of person truly be.
So you talked a little bit about what's next for you as far as, you want to open up more restaurants. Is there anything else you want to weigh in?
I do a lot of motivational speaking. Right now, like I said, we're working on Maha, making America healthy again. Just working with school programs. I think a lot of parents are at work, both mother and father at work, so they're not seeing what's happening in school, what the kids are eating. Video games, Xbox, cell phones, all this stuff. This stuff shouldn't be accessible to child until they're 16 years old, I believe. Just because there's too much automatic gratification too fast, where they don't know what hard work is to get that answer that they're looking for. All of a sudden they have a cell phone, they pick it up, and boom, the first thing they see, and that's all they see is what they first see. They don't do the research. I mean, back when I was in school, we'd have to go to the library, we'd have to pull the index cards, we'd have to go look at the book. We got through so many stages just to work for that. And that's how life is. You got to go through stages to work to become better. You can't have automatic gratification. And I think the more I continue working like that, doing motivational speaking and just speaking out, and not even speaking out, just speaking the truth of our children, because my boys are 16, and I want to make sure they have a great future. And when they have kids, I want to make sure their kids have a great future also. But open more restaurants, of course. Got some huge investments that are coming up that I'm very fortunate to be a part of. Some really big companies, good friends that have came back to me, and like I say, life goes full circle again. Guys who I met 20 years ago, and all of a sudden they had an idea, and 15 years later it popped up, and it's one of the biggest things to be coming out. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that I've been able to give back to society in a positive manner. That's what I want to do, either as business, coaching, being an entrepreneur, anything I possibly can, just to show that you don't have to be a victim when they say you're a victim. Just work hard for it, push that negativity away and just think of positive and manifest what you want in life, and you can achieve anything in this world at all. And this goes for every one of you guys that are watching right now. Taking a risk is something you're not comfortable doing. Because there's many times I could talk about through my career that I had a risk that I had to take of signing a new contract through UFC, but I took a risk and I betted on myself. When I bet on myself and I made sure I won, that continued my contract for the next one. For this company here at Tito's Cantina, my partner, he didn't want to be affiliated with me because of my political views, so I bet on myself. I bought him out and I became 100% owner of this company. So now I'm going to continue doing that because I believe in myself, and I'm going to make sure that I'll thrive through anything. So each one of you guys that are listening to this, believe in your dreams, accomplish those dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Just do it respectfully, do it honestly. Don't step anybody, get ahead, and be the best person you can be. Look in that mirror and say, you know what, I'm going to do it today. From me, Tito Ortiz.